This is something that will only happen once in our lifetimes and once in history, that a tournament is played, the entire tournament, in one city, in a small country like Qatar.
The first World Cup in the Middle East, the first being hosted by a Muslim country, and the jury is still out whether it is going to be the first carbon-neutral cup, as hundreds of flights are going to be bringing thousands of people in every day, and organizers are excited that it is happening in a region which has been marred by divisions, where sports diplomacy is going to help bring people together.
Well, throughout the World Cup, there'll be more than 90 fan activations, as they're being described, to keep people entertained. Here in Lusail, for example, there'll be a beach festival. There's also a winter wonderland for people to explore. And there'll also be some cultural activities for fans to get involved in. Farah Ismail has been at Qatar's Museum of Islamic Art to tell us a little bit more about that.
Thanks so much, Andy. World Cups are more than just about football. They're also about culture, and this World Cup's no different. I'm standing in front of the Museum of Islamic Art, just one of the many cultural venues fans traveling to Qatar will be able to visit.
Iconic landmarks. Designed by renowned architect I.M. Pei, the building itself is considered a work of art. It's undergone a major renovation for the World Cup, with great efforts made to preserve the original vision for the museum's look. The entrance has been widened and opened up as part of the redesign. The biggest changes are in the galleries and the way the artifacts are displayed. The MIA's Grand Atrium houses 18 galleries, bringing together thousands of artifacts from across the Islamic world. One of the challenges was making this accessible to a wide audience.
To put it this way, we had beautiful objects, they were in beautiful showcases, but there was very little story and context about them. So what we did is, first of all, we introduced a visitor trail, so people follow a trail and have a little story. If you follow it closely, you get an idea about, you know, the Islamic world, the culture, the history, the religion. We introduced religion, for example. There was nothing on religion before.
One path follows the spread of Islam, from the printed word to artistic creations to the development of an Islamic community. There's also been a push to appeal to an international audience. One path takes visitors from the Mediterranean to the Gulf through to Iran and beyond.
The Indian Ocean and Southeast Asia also totally new. We never had Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean, but specifically with the audience here and with so many people from this area, and being, you know, Indonesia being one of the biggest Muslim countries in the world, we really thought that should be included.
The curators also want to stimulate the senses. There are plans to enhance displays with video, music, and even smells. Special exhibitions are being mounted to coincide with the World Cup. One focuses on Baghdad. The Iraqi capital was once the jewel of Arab culture, so it's an appropriate choice as Doha, briefly, becomes the center of the sports world. Qatar plans to open at least 3 more major museums by 2030, a push to consolidate its place as one of the cultural capitals of the modern Middle East.
And that's it from me from outside the Museum of Islamic Art. Back to you, Andy.
Well, around $10 billion has been spent on the stadiums for this World Cup. 7 are absolutely brand new. 1, the Khalifa Stadium, well, that's been completely overhauled in advance of these finals. But there's one venue that seems to capture the imagination of everybody who sees it. Here's Sana Hamouche to take you on a little guided tour.
A unique stadium for a World Cup like no other. This is Stadium 974. Situated in Doha's port area, it pays tribute to Qatar's history of worldwide trade and seafaring. The main construction material is its most distinctive feature, 974 shipping containers. 974 is also the international dining code for Qatar. The colored containers indicate what they're for. For example, we have the blue one for food if you want to grab a snack at halftime. And if we look further down, we have the yellow for bathrooms, and the black ones are the prayer rooms. And if you ever need medical assistance, we have the green container. And the silver ones right here are the VIP rooms, and that's my kind of container. 7 games are being held here, and if the players get nervous before taking the field, there's always this. The venue will be completely dismantled after the tournament. Everything that you see around me here will be moved to another country that needs it. This waterfront site will be built into an area that people can live and work here. While Stadium 974's physical presence is temporary, it will leave a long-lasting legacy.
I'll just bring you some news about some of the players who will be starring at this World Cup. First of all, Real Madrid and French striker Karim Benzema. He's just won the Ballon d'Or, and last night was a goal scorer for Real Madrid in their win in the Spanish La Liga against Elche. Not such good news for Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United. He was an unused substitute in their win against Tottenham, stormed off down the tunnel before the match had finished. But you can guarantee that Ronaldo will be here attempting to win the World Cup for the very first time in his career. Well, it really will be a World Cup of firsts. A first for the Middle East, the first time so many fans will all be together in one space. And for the hosts, they'll be making their World Cup debut. Remember that game coming up against Ecuador on the 20th of November. 64 matches in all over 29 days. Al Jazeera will be here to keep you up to date with all of the stories every step of the way.
All right, that's it from us for now. But if you're into the football, do stay with us. We've got World Cup Countdown up next with Sana Hamouche, and the news continues right here on Al Jazeera after that.
Hello, I'm Sana Hamouche. The wait is nearly over. Welcome to the last of our World Cup countdown programs as we build up to Qatar 2022, the Middle East's first World Cup. And this month we're focusing on the teams who've qualified from Asia. That includes the host nation Qatar, who have been in a longer training camp than any other team ahead of the tournament. David Beckham played in 3 World Cups. He's being in Doha and is looking forward to the tournament taking place in winter for the first time.
What you're going to see on the pitch is probably like no other World Cup. The performances will be top level.
We'll take you through to the other 5 Asian qualifiers: Iran, Saudi Arabia, Australia, and Japan and South Korea, who co-hosted the World Cup themselves 20 years ago. And here to talk us through all of that is 4-time World Cup player Tim Cahill and 2022 Qatar ambassador Mohammed Saadoun Al Kuwairi. Welcome to the show. Let's get straight into it. And first, we remind you of exactly which teams have qualified from the Asian region. There's the host Qatar, who qualified automatically and are the current Asian champions. Then it's Iran, Saudi Arabia, before moving further east to Japan and South Korea, and Australia, who are also in the Asian qualifying circuit. And here's how those teams fit into the group stage. Lots of interesting matchups, but first let's focus on the host Qatar. Early in October, they took a break from their 6-month training camp to hold an open session in front of fans here in Doha. David Stokes reports.
A big welcome for a team with big hopes and big expectations on their shoulders. Qatar's players carry the dreams of a football-loving nation, and they've made a connection with their supporters that they hope will carry them through the World Cup.
Amazing, so thank you for everybody who organized these things. It's important to the Jamhur will be with the players in this moment and all the games to be more stronger. We are so happy to see all these people, all these kids here with us.
No, this is what is football for. We are working, we are doing all this to keep the people happy and proud of the country. So it will be very nice if there is this atmosphere in the World Cup games supporting us. Sure, it is going to help us.
Every effort has been made for the team to be perfectly prepared. The group have been together for months, taken away from their club commitments. And this is a squad who aren't just there to be the hosts who make up the numbers at this tournament. Qatar are the current Asian champions, with high hopes of reaching the knockout stages.
I'm confident that the players will give their best in all 3 matches and that we will go through. We will give a performance that will be up to the level of the organisation of this World Cup, and we will make our country proud.
This group of players, they show many times that they are very competitive. We know that we are facing 3 very top national teams, very strong. They have history in the World Cups and other competitions, but we also want to try to play our maximum level, and the fact to play at home, we hope that this is going to give us some extra with the help of the people to try to do well and compete at our highest level.
The World Cup was always an opportunity for Qatar to put itself on the map. And if their football team can deliver at the tournament, it will leave an even greater lasting legacy. David Stokes, Al Jazeera.
Let's take a closer look at the challenge awaiting Felix Sanchez and his team. This is Group A, the first game of the whole tournament. On November the 20th, we'll see Qatar take on Ecuador at Al Bayt Stadium. And then they'll face Senegal before Game 3 against the Netherlands. Now let's talk to our guests. First of all, Mohammed, people who don't know the Qatar national team, what do we expect from this team?
It's good to be here. First of all, I think we are a bit unlucky, and I think we had big chances to qualify to the World Cup before hosting the World Cup in 2022, especially in the 1998 qualification, where we were only 1 match away from qualifying. We lost home against Saudi Arabia 1-0. If we had won this match, we were going to play the World Cup. One of the best World Cups ever, I think, is 1998. So we have a legacy. I really, as an athlete, wanted to qualify by the qualification before hosting the tournament. Now we have a great generation, the Asian Cup winners in Emirates in last edition. We have a lot of talents, especially Akram Afif, which is, for me, is one of the biggest talents in Asia. I think we have a chance because we are playing home. But technically speaking, I think the 3 other teams, Senegal is the African champion, Holland is a very strong European team, and Ecuador, for me, if we talk football, they are better. But we still have a chance. Always playing home is an advantage.
Do you think they'll make it out of the group stages?
I think we have a 30% chance, honestly. Against Senegal, it's a very, very tough match. And for me, if Senegal plays the European Cup, they could easily do the quarterfinal. They're very strong. They're playing in big teams, Premier League, La Liga, Calcio. They have very, very strong squad, led by Sadio Mane, who's playing now in Bayern, ex-Liverpool. So I think we have a chance. For me, to get 3 points in the first match against Ecuador is the door to qualify.
What do you think, Tim? Do you agree?
So I like to look at this differently. I like to look at it. I was the first ever goal scorer in a World Cup for Australia. The fans of Qatar will never forget this moment for the first ever Qatari goal scorer. I promise you. And the other thing that the fans and the country will realise, their biggest moment is when they sing their first national anthem together. I think this will be the biggest celebration, very emotional. And this is what makes football tick. To get your first point in a World Cup, whether it's a draw, whether it's a win, is very important as well. But I look at this as something where this is the first base of progression, because 2026, my thoughts will be, how do we qualify for a World Cup? So the success for me will be looking at it differently, looking at the improvements. They've been in 6-month camp, which is unique, doesn't happen. But I'd love to see them win a game in this group. 4 points for me, 2006, we went through our group. 4 points in 2010, we didn't go through our group. 2014, no points. So what is success? I think for me, success is being at a World Cup.
David Beckham played in 3 World Cups for England. His being in Qatar taken a look at the Aspire Academy, which has produced the majority of Qatar's national team players. Beckham told Al Jazeera that he's excited to see the World Cup being played in the European winter for the first time.
I think on all levels it's going to be great for the fans, for people watching around the world, but more importantly I think, you know, for the players, you know, to come in mid-season. You know I went into World Cups. I was lucky enough to play in 3 World Cups, and I know that I went into each one of those World Cups playing probably 50 to 60 games in the season. So you arrive and you never want to use it as an excuse, but it's fact. You know, you are arriving from the toughest league in football and playing that amount of games, so you obviously arrive a little bit tired and mentally, physically. So I think the fact that this World Cup now is, you know, players are coming into this World Cup after playing 25 games in their season, so they're going to be arriving fresh, excited. Their energy is going to be at top level. So I think what you're going to see on the pitch is probably like no other World Cup. The performances will be top level.
Beckham was speaking at the Aspire Academy, which was founded back in 2004. And apart from football, it offers scholarships in athletics, squash, table tennis and fencing. While it also has a world-class sports science department. We spoke to Aspire's Director General, Ivan Bravo, who explained the thinking behind giving Qatar's players such a long training camp.
Qatar is going to play a World Cup against teams that have pretty much all of their players playing in the top 5 leagues. Statistically, the chance of Qatar beating the Netherlands in a World Cup are very small. So I think also people have to be a little bit realistic about where every country is. You know, Van Dijk plays for Liverpool. Our centre backs play for Tuchel and Al Sadd. It's a little bit different. Hopefully we can get a little bit of that togetherness that creates a mindset and a spirit and a collective belief that the team is going to go out there and fight with everything they have. And whatever result it is, at least they'll leave everything on the pitch.
Tim, as a Chief Sports Officer at Aspire, tell us about the purpose of the Academy and how do you compare it to other facilities around the world?
It's quite unique. I don't think there's anything like it in the world. This is a national curriculum for sport, not only football. We have a number of sports from swimming, athletics, squash, fencing, table tennis. And I think for me, learning about Aspire Academy inside, learning the different methodologies, the processes, growth and maturation, and the detail that goes in to the individual. Because of population, it's very difficult to get loads of talent. So it means that what we have to work with it. We have to develop the talent. We have to have talent identification centres, bring the kids in. A national team that's like a club team.
And it's not only the facility, it's the talents, as Tim mentioned, but also the expertise that Aspire Academy were able to bring. Someone like Tim with 4 World Cups experience, someone like Raul Gonzalez, Champions League winner, someone like Xavi Hernandez. All the experience with the Premier League, La Liga, Champions League came especially to the football athletes. And for me, this played a very, very important role of us winning the Asian Cup in 2019 for the first time, where the majority of players came from Aspire. But for me, it's not only Aspire Academy, it's the whole Aspire zone, which is for me the best sports city in the world. It's not only the academy, it's the whole city around the academy.
And Tim, your beloved Australia will be staying at the Aspire Academy during the World Cup, but they were one of the last teams to qualify. They beat Peru in the Intercontinental Playoffs in June right here in Doha. It will be the 6th time they've competed at the tournament. Australia are in Group D alongside the defending champions France. They'll also face games against Denmark and Tunisia. Tim, you were with the Socceroos at 4 World Cups. How do you rate this current team?
Look, listen, it was a long qualifying campaign and it went all the way to the very end. And we were lucky to qualify. When you look at penalties, you look at Peru as a nation, it was a tough game. So to win on penalties, I was very proud. It was great to be a part of that final qualification with the staff. And even still now, taking on a different role as an executive, I'll be helping the Australian national team with their setup, with their camp, and really trying to help from a high performance level. I'm excited for us, but